Hello friends, I am Chevee. Welcome to my shed. How are you today? How's life in your world? How's things where you are? I hope everything is good and great and wonderful. And I hope you're having a wonderful week. So, before I start talking about today's topic, I have a topic today for once. I want to tell you that I'm going to open this discussion with a talk about Dungeons & Dragons, but this talk is not about Dungeons & Dragons, so bear with me. If you have no interest in this, this is just tangential. This has led me to a thought process that I want to talk about. So, for those of you who aren't in the know, my friend Ignacy Chevee, he's a Polish game designer, owns Portal Games, who I've worked for since 2016, asked me to run a Dungeons & Dragons game for him next month for his birthday. I have not run Dungeons & Dragons in like 15 years. I've only recently rediscovered it because my children asked to play. And because I started talking about it, he said, I want you to run a game for me. And I said, okay. What made that difficult is, what makes that difficult is that Ignacy literally wrote the book on role-playing games. Like, he published a role-playing game magazine. He wrote lots of RPGs. He was very influential in the Polish role-playing game scene. And he's asked me to run a game for him, to be his dungeon master for a night. And I said, sure. Because I always say sure, like especially when he asks me for something, I try really hard to deliver because he's that kind of a friend, right? But I didn't really think about it. When I used to run Dungeons & Dragons, I was generally the dungeon master. I very rarely played. I played in a couple of games. Usually if I played, it was because I was at one of the like adventure guild things. But when it was me and my friends, I always ran the games. So when I did that, I used to have a lot of fun making detailed areas and detailed characters, but I never really worked on the story. I never really worked on what was going to happen. I let the players kind of direct all of that, and I just came up with stuff on the fly. And so I always just kind of made it up as we went along, and I would take notes saying if I created a new villain or if I had a cool idea for a direction to take the characters, I would write that down, but I didn't plan. There was no planning between sessions. But Ignacy's asked me to do this thing, and I'm honestly a little bit terrified, so I decided I'm going to plan this, because we've only got like, 3-4 hours. I need to make a game that is a complete fun story that lasts 3 or 4 hours, and I've been spending the last month agonizing over it. And so if you've paid attention to this show or you've paid attention to my Twitter, I've been working on a dungeon map for a long time. I'm going to show you a couple pieces of it. Probably shouldn't, because this is actually the dungeon map that he's going to be playing. But this is I've been hand drawing a dungeon map. This is printed in full scale, 1-inch scale, so I can use it during our game and show the areas of the thing. This map is pretty big, size-wise. This assembled will take up about a dining room table. So I've worked really hard to learn how to draw detailed, fun dungeon maps. I've been working on a town map for a little village that the players will visit, and I have pages and pages and pages of notes about the story for this little adventure. And so all of this has led me to realize that for some reason that my personality, I would assume that anybody who's been here for any amount of time had seen this in me. My personality is that I get really excited about things in the initial phase, and then it never really turns out the way I expected it, and in most cases I never finish it because the excitement wears. And what I've realized is I think I put way too much into it in the beginning. Like, I get way too excited about things, and specifically talking about this is an adventure for one man and his friends that is going to take place on one evening. I'll run it one time and that's it. And I already have like a very strong villain character, and I have a very strong NPC that will kind of guide the characters, and I have this whole backstory about how this NPC and this villain's past intermingle, and I have this second NPC that's currently, not available, and I have her backstory figured out between the two characters and how that all interrelates, and I have this whole, religious aspect of the thing that they find and how they get to that and how the characters have to go through this whole process. I've put a very large amount of my energy into the upfront loading of this thing, and now I'm having a really hard time finishing, right? I drew one map. I still have to finish the town map, and then I have a whole nother map. There's a whole other area that the characters need to explore. I need to finish writing the encounters. Like, I have some basic notes, which is probably how I'll run it, but my intention was, if I'm going to put this much energy into it, I'm going to publish it somewhere. And I think that's where I get the hang-up, right? Everything that I do, you know, when I started working on the line cut stuff, the wood cut or the linoleum cut, the, you know, relief art, my mind immediately went to, I can, you know, produce quality artwork and sell it. Why? Like, I just enjoy doing it, so why do I always go that far? Or writing the book. I'm still planning on writing the stupid book I started talking about 2 years ago. I still have tons and tons of notes. I still take notes. I have a Google Doc, and I look every now and then to see when the last time I edited. And the last time I opened that doc was 2 weeks ago, because I had some good notes for the book. I had some good direction that, oh, this will work and I can fit this together. But all of that is because I think I put way too much front loading into it. I put way too much effort into imagining all the little fringe possibilities and trying to account for all of that, or thinking, in this particular instance with the Dungeons and Dragons thing, having a stupid little go through a dungeon, go get a thing, come back isn't enough. I need to have this big swirling backstory. I need to have this, you know, this shifty character over here and this somewhat truthful hero character that may or may not be deceiving everybody. And in reality, it literally could just be, you're in a dungeon, let's find our way out, and he would love that. Like, he would be all about it, right? So I guess my question is, if you start on so let's look at No Rogues Allowed. If you've gone to the website recently, there's been no appreciable changes to the published code on that website for 6 weeks. I have done some modifications in the background. I'm still taking a crap load of notes on it because I have a whole lot of ideas for how to massage it. But I started with this idea of, I want to make a game, a very simple role-playing game. And it has turned into a much larger idea because I got excited about it. And I got, oh, I'll put this into it. And, oh, I'll have this interact with that so that you can have... And it doesn't need any of that stuff, but that's where my head goes. Like, oh, if I'm going to do it, I might as well overdo it. I don't know how to get over that. I don't know how to stop myself from doing that. You know, everything that I build in this shop always turns out to be this overcomplicated, like, why did I put that much energy into it? That's not what the person who asked for it asked for, you know? I don't know. I don't know how to stop that process, because the excitement process, the getting excited, the stuff that's in this book about this adventure, the maps that I've been drawing, for me, that's the rewarding process. You know, sitting down with this and running the game for Ignacy, I will enjoy it. I will dread it. The day before, I will not sleep. I guarantee you I will not sleep. And I will be nervous and anxious, but once we start getting into it, I will be very comfortable and I'll enjoy it and it'll be a lot of fun. But the lead up, you know, it will be terrifying because I will have imagined all of these scenarios that I didn't account for, that I don't know how to handle, that whatever's going to happen is going to happen, instead of just going for it. I think that's the thing. I need to just, like, maybe I just need to throw half the notes away and just go for it. I don't know. Let me know what you think. Like, where do you draw the line when you've got an idea for a project? Do you find yourself adding more, you know, like that feature creep that developers talk about? Do you end up overcomplicating it because you don't feel satisfied doing something small, or are you okay with doing something small? Maybe that's the thing that I need to learn, is how to be okay with doing something, I guess, quote, mundane. I mean, that's not fair, but maybe that's how my head looks at it. Like, oh, you can't just have that. That's mundane. I don't know. Let me know in the comments. Thank you for being here as always. Thank you for liking and commenting and subscribing and being amazing friends and wonderful people. I really appreciate you, and I will see you again tomorrow. Today's word you should know to sound smart is capitulation. It is a noun meaning the act of surrendering or giving up. Ross offered James no capitulation during the confrontational lacrosse game. Capitulation. C-A-P-I-T-U-L-A-T-I-O-N.